I listened to Mike on Tuesday as the Hurricanes do what the Hurricanes do, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in preseason hockey games. He joins us from Lenovo Center. I have not screwed that up yet.
No, but I am at the Wake Competition Center in Invisalign Arena.
Oh, we're in Invisalign today.
Yes.
Glad I didn't come to practice. That would have been bad for me. All right, I can hear the din of hockey in the background. It's certainly good to be back around the guys, around the team. Quick impressions, and I know you don't do impressions, Mike. Quick impressions of what you saw Tuesday at Amalie Arena.
Well, the first period definitely looked like preseason hockey. That's just to get that one out of the way. It was choppy. There was no flow. The very few guys who I think are going to be on an opening night NHL roster for both teams, it took them a while to get it going. But as the game moved on, the Hurricanes were doing Carolina Hurricanes things and took over the game. Pyotr Kochetkov was exactly what you wanted him to be in that first game. He gives up a goal, but there was nothing he could do about it. There was a good screen out in front, but he was very good. And he didn't need to be better than very good, but he was very good throughout. I liked what I saw out of a couple of players early, some young guys like Ronan Seeley making an impression on the blue line. And we say young, he's been around the team for a while now, but Ronan Seeley, I thought, had a decent game. Some of the newcomers who impacted the game on the score sheet, like Tyson Jost, with what he did, and he's mainly responsible for the game-winning goal with 44 seconds left. Thank you for that. And Alexei Hamosalmi throwing that to the front of the net for the 2-1 win. But, you know, as the game went on, it got better, but it really did look like the first preseason hockey game for everybody there.
Mike Maniscalco is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I am fascinated by how, we know how it's going to start. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is going to play as, pardon me for numbering the lines, as a second-line center for this team, likely with Martin Necas. I know we practiced also with Andrei Svechnikov, and that trio was together. I think we all remember the way they looked at the start of the season 2 years ago when Necas and Svechnikov got off to such a great start offensively. I'm guessing that's what Rod is thinking about, putting them together, but it's KK and Jack Drury are basically fighting for the same real estate.
Yeah, and I think that's what the rest of training camp and the preseason, Adam, is going to kind of determine, because there's not roster spots open per se, like in years past. And in fact, Rod just talked about that, where you'd come to camp and there were 3 open spots and where are they going to fit? Now it's where does everybody slot? So I am going to be really interested when you've got Kotkaniemi and Drury playing in a game. How does Rod mix the lines as the game goes, or does he keep a line going, especially when we get to, maybe more and more NHL players in the roster for these preseason games? But I'm with you, and I don't want to say they're interchangeable, because that means they're, kind of the same. They both bring something different to the party. For me, this is a big year for Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Does he unlock more of that offense that, he was drafted 3rd overall for? And does Jack continue his climb? Because Jack, he does something different in the middle. He's such a responsible two-way player. He gives his wingers a little bit more freedom to do some things. But I'm glad that you brought up 2 years ago, because while it didn't show up on the stat sheet for Kotkaniemi, it showed up on the stat sheet for Necas and Svechnikov. So we'll at least see how the early runnings go. But I think right now, the way too early Gallup poll is projecting Kotkaniemi is going to get the first shot at that 2C.
Yeah, and I think it'll start the season that way. The way I look at it is that it'll be determined during these games, and they're not going to play all the games anyway, whether or not how much runway basically Kotkaniemi has at the start of the season. The the forward prospects played together in the first period. Rod did not like what he saw from that, and justifiably so. They kind of got big boyed by Tampa Bay, and Rod split them up. After that, it looked to me like Jackson Blake certainly played 2 very good periods playing with Jack Drury and Tyson Jost. I don't know if any of the 3 is going to make the roster, but I guess if we were looking at it as a horse race, I would say Jackson Blake's off to a fairly good start.
Yeah, and I think the in vogue thing to say now in sports, we used to always talk about ceilings. Well, now we start talking about players' floors. The floor for Jackson Blake is higher right now than Felix Ungersorum and Bradley Nadeau, because Jackson is a pretty responsible player. He's got some size. He knows how to use that. He goes to the front of the net. But the ceiling for the other two is, we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be shocked if those three all end up in Chicago, Adam, and kind of end up on a line to try to dominate in the AHL. One thing about Felix Ungersorum is that game moved on. You remember, that was his first game playing center, especially in pro hockey.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to ask. He got better in one of the areas that I noticed was in the face-off circle as the game moved on and what to do. I would have liked to have seen more out of Bradley Nadeau because we know that offense is there, but he's going to have ample opportunity this preseason to show it. But of the three, right now, if you put him on the platform, I would say that Jackson Blake is, if there is a spot open for one of those three right now, he's the guy who's the front runner for that spot.
Yeah, and the Hurricanes have so many guys, and I'm assuming that tomorrow night when the Hurricanes host Florida, we'll get a look at Jack Roslovic, maybe playing with Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis, and that has been a practice trio at times. All right, let me throw this at you. I know you're a big Yankee fan, right? So for people who don't know, Mike Maniscalco, big Yankee fan.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I appreciate you guys getting Juan Soto warmed up for his tenure with the Mets, so he gets acclimated to the city of New York. I laugh because I don't think it's going to happen. But is your level of confidence in the Yankees in the postseason high?
No, it's mid, because I'm very much Al Pacino in The Godfather 3 now. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Right.
And I don't want to. This isn't the mid '90s, early 2000 Yankees. It's not even the 2009 Yankees. That said, what baseball has done is they've made the postseason more wide open than it's ever been, which is a good thing. From you've got teams that you just get in and win, and maybe you get hot. But I take a look. Houston's still in the playoffs, and that now seems to be beyond any kind of voodoo that the Yankees are used to getting rid of. The Detroit Tigers are on one of the best heaters to close the season. I mean, they literally – this is one of the better comebacks that we've seen in baseball. I was going to use the Simpsons reference about Lazarus, but I'm going to leave that one alone because they were left for see you next season. So does Detroit stay hot? Although you and I both know baseball is funny because you can go in on a losing streak as a playoff team and turn it on, and winning streaks don't mean that much. Baltimore right now is a tough team, and they're not afraid to play the Yankees. In fact, they probably want to play the Yankees. So my level of confidence is middle of the pack, because the other reason, I don't know who's closing games for the Yankees now. There's not Rivera coming out of the pen. We were almost a witness to history this year with Clay Holmes for the most blown saves in a season for New York. So that's the question there. They'll put up runs, but, things get tight in the postseason. So it's, for me, those bullpen matchups that'll be a question mark. And then I know I texted you. I have to bring it on the air.
Sure.
I asked you, what is the most Mets way for the Mets to not make the playoffs this year? And if you were setting up the schedule, basically Major League Baseball did it for them. Remember when Major League Baseball used to do everything right?
No,
now they don't know how to order a hot dog.
It is unbelievable. Major League Baseball should not have left it up to the Mets and Braves to say, no, we don't want to play Monday, because they knew. Because, weather reports, they might not be the most accurate things in the world, but we all knew where Helene was going, and the opening act for Helene was going to get there right in front of her, and we knew there wasn't going to be baseball yesterday and today in Atlanta. So, it's so much better to fly from Milwaukee back to Atlanta, play 2 games, and then, fly to Los Angeles or San Diego for a wild card game. So, the most Mets way will be to lose Sunday in Milwaukee to make this series with Atlanta matter for one of the 2 teams to get in, and then the Mets only have to win one of the two, but of course get swept in the two game in the doubleheader, and then go, well, we don't have to go back to L.A. We could just go home. That would be the Mets' way to do it. And I thank Major League Baseball for not saying, you guys are idiots. We'll see you both in Atlanta this past Monday, so they can get this series in. But that isn't what happened. So whatever. Yeah. It is baseball. Real quick before we go, Mike on Twitter at Mike Maniscalco brought up bunting. Because he was either watching it or saw an inning in which there were 3 consecutive bunt base hits. And people who know my stance on sacrifice bunting thought you were calling me out. Right? They thought you were calling me out. And
No.
what I pointed out was I have no problem with bunting. I used to love bunting for a base hit or a suicide squeeze. But my gosh, nobody wants to see outs sacrificed, and that is my problem. I am all about a good bunt for a base hit, a good drag bunt. I love a good drag bunt.
Exactly, Adam. That's what I was bringing up because, I understand, and I'm not a complete dinosaur. I understand the role of analytics and if you're bunting, you're not really giving yourself the best chance to maximize your at bats. Fine, however you wanted to put that. But for me, if you can put the ball in play, and if you can make a pitcher have to field it, or a player make a play that he's not used to making because nobody bunts anymore.
No.
And the same thing with stolen bases. I'm sorry, Ricky Henderson was one of my favorite players of all time because a walk was a double, sometimes a triple with Ricky Henderson. And walks were those things where batters had a really good eye and weren't trying to hit a home run, so they would actually walk to first base. And I just saw it, and I wanted to point out, you don't need to see a home run for baseball to be fun. It was funny because immediately, all of a sudden, I'm like, why are people referencing Adam in my feed right now?
Exactly.
And I went, oh, that's right. And I'm with you. I do not enjoy the sacrifice bunt. If you got a professional hitter, he should be able to move over a hitter without asking him to bunt. You got guys at the bottom of the lineup who, I'm going old school. The guys who are hitting 215,
choking up on the bat.
Going to put the ball in play. Exactly. It's a bunt anyway if they do it. But to bunt for base hits, drag bunts, that was an art. Phil Rizzuto. Now we're dating ourselves, and I did that a lot in college and high school. But when you go back, Phil Rizzuto wins an MVP because he could drag bunt. There's certain things where just for me it was a reminder of, hey, you don't have to try to hit a 3-run home run every time.
Although Earl Weaver would be appreciative of that.
Oh, I know.
But only Orioles fans really get that, and people my age and your age, Mike Maniscalco. All right, sir. Although you're significantly younger than me anyway. All right, man, I'll see you at the arena tomorrow night. I appreciate your time.
You got it, AG. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
You got it. Mike Maniscalco here on the Adam Gold Show.